Welcome back to the channel, guys. So we are going to be doing the last part of the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship application essays. We're going to talk about the personal statement and the voluntary and leadership experience essays. So if you've been following us, we've been doing a series and this is the last part. So make sure to grab a cup of coffee or tea. And in fact, get your pen and paper. While you grab your cup of coffee, get your pen and paper and make sure to jot every single thing that I'm saying, because this particular essay got me the scholarship and the tips that I'm going to be sharing will actually help you. I'm going to be reading the question and then I'll read some parts of my essays for you guys. So summarize the ways in which your personal background has encouraged you to want to make an impact in your home country. So this one is actually talking about you. It's actually a place to show where you're coming from and how, that has affected and motivated you to want to make an impact in the lives of people. I remember that Commonwealth Shared Scholarship is all about, development impact. It's all about impact, making sustainable development, right? Indicate areas in which you have already contributed, such as having overcome any personal or community barriers to higher education. Okay, so this is also a point to include. You need to make sure that you show where you've contributed and also how if there was any barriers that you actually overcame as a result of like going into higher education. Mention community barriers, personal barriers, mention them. This essay, you want to give them a story. This is where you really bring out that storytelling nature in you and talk about you, right? No other person will talk about you. Give a lasting impression of your background and your particular career path, and actually even start from your primary school stage to secondary and then to university. Let it be like a very good story that will align with what we're talking about here. You can now write about, despite the barriers you face, how you've been able to like succeed. You can say something around you being a girl child or even a male child, just depending on your circumstances, right? Maybe your background doesn't, or your culture doesn't allow the female child to go to university, or maybe you're just relegated to being married and staying at home, and how you were able to like still fund yourself through school, or you gained admission and you were able to get maybe a scholarship during your primary school, and get a scholarship maybe even to fund your secondary school, or you were able to walk through school to actually fund yourself. So these are barriers that someone can actually face. There are so many other barriers. It could actually be your community, it could actually be your family. It could be that maybe you're born into a polygamous home and your dad wasn't able to like send you guys to school. Despite that, you've been able to scale through. Maybe you got a first class, you got a second class, you did well in university, and now that is why you are applying for this scholarship, because you know that you can give back to the community. So you see how it flows. That is a very good story. And if you've been in that particular situation, you can actually use that story. So you want to briefly highlight community development programs that you've engaged in, what you've done. I'm going to read my first paragraph, and because I've given you tips, you can actually use the tips and complete the rest of the essay. As a child, I have had to witness how the police assault and arrest young people without any good cause. These youngsters stay in custody for months without being taken to court or even released. They spend their youthful age in detention rather than contributing to the development of the country. Most of these youngsters end up exhibiting negative traits from convicted criminals, resulting to security threats. And then I mentioned while in secondary school, blah, 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 blah. I mentioned several things. And, those jungle justice and things like that. And then I went down to mention things, why I wanted to, make this impact and what had happened in my background. So this was how I was able to put out the personal statement. And because there's no one way to, writing this particular essay, I would say to use the tips, use the tips that I've given you, and then put your story together and align them to your objective and then say, you know, this is why I really want to do this, right? I've been able to overcome these barriers. I've seen these things happen before now. So that was that's for that particular AC. Let's go into the voluntary and leadership AC. So the voluntary and leadership AC are actually together, 2 in 1. So you're going to be writing how you've been able to volunteer and how you've been able to lead in different capacities. You led even from secondary school down to the university and up till now. So you don't need to say, oh, I've not led before. No, even the little things that you've done, even as a prefect in secondary school, you can mention that. And if it's relevant, mention something around it that is relevant in your AC. So in your voluntary and leadership experience, you want to discuss all the voluntary activities you have participated in and discuss about any leadership position that you have ever held. During my undergraduate days, I volunteered in non-governmental organizations as NGOs, such as the Eagles Intellect Empowerment Initiative, where I led as a study cell leader in teaching youngsters to perform excellently in their chosen careers. I was also chosen as a class representative by my colleagues. And then I also doubled as a vice president of the lawyers body when I was a student. And then I worked closely with lawyers in actualizing a common goal. I was the group leader for interns when we did for externs when we did externship in law school. We were sent to this particular law firm and I was the group leader. I mentioned that because obviously that's a leadership experience. And then went down to also mention, as at that time I was working as a lawyer in Lagos. So I mentioned I was in the editorial committee in my law firm. As at that time, law firm did editorial, so I was serving in the editorial committee as as part of my interest in national development and globalization. I also volunteered for this particular research someone was doing, and she sent me a message on LinkedIn, and I was part of the committee and things like that. And so I mentioned that because that was also a good, because it was a voluntary stuff. So I mentioned that I volunteered on in that particular. So this is the end of our essay series for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. I hope you guys have been able to gain a lot. And I hope I've been able to make this whole scholarship essay writing, very simple, very achievable for you. This is the aim of this particular YouTube channel, so that you can, get that scholarship too. Okay, so don't say I did not do anything for you. Don't say Frida did not do anything. So please let me know if you have any questions. If there's anything you're not clear on, put them in the comment section. I'm going to see you in my next video. Make sure to watch from part 1 of this series to this final part again and again, so that you can get all the knowledge and all the information that is there for you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and let every other person know about this channel. I'm not joking. Let every other person know about this channel. Bye.